Hey guys, Dalek44 here. I need no introduction, but I got one anyway. Today's video is going to be starting off with a simple question, which is, should the Magic Roundabout be released on DVD? Now for two of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, I'll go through the history of this classic really quick. The Magic Roundabout was a French TV series created by Serge Danot, which aired in France in 1964, and it used one of the oldest techniques of film, simply known as puppet animation. But then in 1965, the show crossed the channel and became the UK's most loved children's show of the 60s. The key to this plan was Eric Thompson, who was trusted by the BBC for creating the voices for the English version of the show. Eric didn't look at the French scripts at all. He simply turned down the volume of the original episodes and wrote his own stories to fit what was happening on the screen. And he did it really well, too. Back when I was a kid, I had no idea that this was created by a Frenchman. I just assumed it was an English show. And even when I found out that it was done by a Frenchman, I couldn't believe it. Throughout my childhood, I always thought that it was the Britain's creation. And the characters from the show are so memorable now that I don't even have to name them. There's the big, hairy, sugar-loving dog Dougal, Brian the slow-moving snail, Florence the Christopher Robin type of character, Zebedee the Jack-in-the-Box, Ermintrude the cow, Dylan the rabbit, Mr. McHenry the gardener, Mr. Rusty the operator of the Magic Roundabout, and of course the train. Yeah, she was just known as the train, yeah. The show's co-creator was Britain's Ivor Wood, who would later go on to become famous for the Herbs, Paddington, the Wombles, and of course Postman Pat. When the show aired in England through the 60s to the 70s, it became really popular and turned into a British classic. So much so that it got its own film titled Dougal and the Blue Cat in the 70s, and then a CGI film in 2005, and then a CGI series for Nick Jr. And the reason I'm asking if this show should be put out on DVD or not is simply because, well, I personally think it should get a DVD release. I mean, many other classics from the 60s and 70s are beginning DVD releases, such as The Herbs, Ivor the Engine, Paddington, and hell, even Postman Pat is being released on DVD several times. So should this classic be released on DVD since many others that Ivor Wood has worked on have been getting DVD releases? Of course it bloody should! This show has been popular throughout my childhood. Even though I never actually grew up with the show in the 60s, I still got introduced to it during the 90s, thanks to VHS releases and reruns on Cartoon Network. And the Cartoon Network reruns I watched were all narrated by Nigel Planer, who was famous for playing Neil in The Young Ones. Now, Nigel is pretty good, but I honestly prefer Eric Thompson. He's just 1,000 times funnier than he is at narrating this classic. But don't get me wrong, Nigel does do a pretty good job at keeping to Eric Thompson's humour, but Eric just had that humour by himself. And the classic episodes really do deserve a DVD release. I mean, hell, 5 of the original episodes got released on the 2-disc special edition of the 2005 movie. So if the BBC could go through their archives to search for some classic episodes for one movie disc, then why the hell can't you look for all of them to put on several discs? And maybe put them in colour and remaster them like you did with Dougal and the Blue Cat. In fact, I'm hoping that Dougal and the Blue Cat's DVD release actually sparks the interest in putting this classic on DVD. I personally think this show really does deserve a DVD release, because it was one of my childhood favourites, and Dougal was always one of my all-time favourite characters. I just love how he always runs around the place, coming up with crazy ideas like sugar canes and running for Parliament and going on holiday with a caravan and becoming a photographer and all that stuff. And you may remember that 2 of my second co-videos were actually based off of Magic Roundabout stories. The episode Caravan being based off the Magic Roundabout story Caravan, and Vote for Dalek44 being based on Vote for Dougal. The Caravan episode was dedicated to the long-awaited release of Dougal and the Blue Cat, and Vote for Dalek44 was dedicated to the memory of Eric Thompson, who created the characters that I grew up with. Hell, even one of my Teen TTE episodes was based off of a Magic Roundabout story known as Toffee River. I have that much respect for this show. I'm not sure if they actually do release the episodes on DVD, whether they'll actually put on the French versions as well. Now, I have seen the French versions of the 5 episodes that were put on the Magic Roundabout movie DVD release. Now, it's very different and a lot louder from the English series, but I personally prefer the British version. And for those of you who are not too keen on the Magic Roundabout CGI movie, I personally enjoyed the film. I liked the choice of actors for the characters they had. I especially loved Tom Baker playing Seabad. I mean, who'd have guessed that Doctor Who himself would be a very good villain? I mean, he was both funny and scary at the same time. He was just chilling in the role. And, not just because he's the Lord of Ice and all that. And as for the CGI animation, I do give it 2 thumbs up. But me personally, nothing could beat the classic puppets. They just look really, really good. Especially since it was Ivor Wood who helped Serge Stanhope make the puppets. And until the DVD release of the Magic Roundabout is ever going to happen, then most of us have to just rely on YouTube or classic VHSs. I've even got an audio CD that features 10 classic episodes narrated by Eric Thompson, including an interview with Eric Thompson himself. Those are the only ways you can ever be likely to see any of the classic episodes until a DVD release is made. Also, if the classic Magic Roundabout series did get an official DVD release, it wouldn't just please the fans who grew up with it like myself, but it would also give the fans who have kids of their own a chance to introduce this to their kids so that they can introduce it to a new generation. So that it would hopefully please some people as much as it pleased me and other people who watched it. So in conclusion, this classic series should definitely get a DVD release. Whether it be released this year or a few years in the future, then I'd definitely go out and buy it. It'll be worth the money. And until next time, this is Dalek44 saying, time for bed.